The girl burst into tears when she found out who had been watching her.
Hello everyone, enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
Sophia turned on the music in her car, trying to shake off the fatigue after a long day at the community support center. The road home, quiet and empty, usually helped her relax. However, today, something felt off. Through her rearview mirror, she noticed an old blue car trailing her. At first, she didn't think much of it, assuming it was just a coincidence. But at the intersection, the car was still right behind her. Sophia decided to turn right instead of going straight, testing whether the car would follow her. And just as she feared, the old blue car turned as well. Her heart began to pound, but she reassured herself, maybe they're just going the same way. When she got home, Sophia quickly parked her car in the garage and shut the door. She peeked through the curtain, but the old blue car was gone. I'm just imagining things, she told herself and went upstairs to prepare dinner. The next day, while shopping at the supermarket, Sophia spotted the old blue car again, parked in the lot. Inside was a man wearing a worn-out baseball cap, looking in another direction as if he wasn't paying attention to her. A chill ran down her spine, but she kept calm, hurriedly finished her shopping, and went home. That evening, Sophia called her best friend, Laura. Laura, something strange is going on, she began, her voice filled with concern. Laura responded immediately, What's wrong, Sophia? Are you okay? For the past 2 days, I've noticed an old blue car appearing wherever I go. Near the center, at the supermarket, and even on my way home. The driver seems suspicious. Laura was silent for a moment before replying, Are you sure it's not just a coincidence? Or maybe you've done something that upset someone. Sophia shook her head, even though Laura couldn't see her. No, I don't think so. Everything's been normal. But you know, his eyes, they're so strange. He doesn't look directly at me, but I feel like I'm being watched. Listen, Sophia, Laura said, her tone more serious. If you feel unsafe, take a picture of the car's license plate and report it to the police. Don't let this get out of hand. Sophia hesitated, not wanting to make a big deal out of it. I'll keep an eye on things for a few more days. Maybe it's just my imagination. Laura sighed. Alright, but promise me that if it continues, you'll report it, okay? Okay, I promise, Sophia replied, though the unease in her chest didn't disappear. 2 days later, as Sophia was about to drive home, she saw the old blue car parked right outside the center again. The man was still inside, holding a coffee cup and staring directly at the building. This can't just be a coincidence, she thought. She slowed her steps, trying to observe more closely without drawing attention. Suddenly, one of her colleagues, Carlos, approached. Sophia, what are you standing here for? He asked, curious. Sophia flinched, turning to Carlos. Oh, it's nothing. I just think that old blue car is strange. It's shown up a few times in places I've been recently. Carlos looked in the direction she pointed and frowned slightly. Do you think he's following you? I'm not sure, Sophia admitted. But it's making me uncomfortable. Carlos nodded, his tone serious. If you feel in danger, you should report it to someone. Don't just let it slide. Sophia appreciated his concern but still felt conflicted. Thank you, I'll stay alert. After their conversation, Sophia tried to focus on driving home. However, every glance at the rearview mirror brought back the image of the old blue car. That evening, she called Laura again. Laura, the car was there again today, she said, her voice trembling. This time, it was right in front of the center, and the man was still inside. Laura responded immediately, That's enough, Sophia. Tomorrow, get the license plate number and report it. This isn't simple anymore. Sophia bit her lip, hesitant to bother others. Let me think about it, Laura. I don't want to make a fuss without solid evidence. Laura sighed. You're always like this, Sophia. But remember, your safety is more important than anything. That night, Sophia lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind swirling with anxious thoughts. The image of the old blue car and the man in the cap kept flashing in her mind. Outside, the wind howled, creating a rustling sound through the trees. Though Sophia's house was cozy, it suddenly felt strangely cold. Am I imagining all this? She wondered, but deep down, she knew the answer was no. Sophia didn't realize that, down the street, the old blue car was still parked quietly, its dim headlights casting a faint glow on the dark road. Sophia walked into the community support center with an unsettled feeling. Every time she went out, she couldn't shake the sense of being watched. Yesterday, she even imagined hearing strange noises behind her as she walked from the parking lot to the front door. Today, she decided to confide in Marta, an older colleague she trusted. Marta, Sophia lowered her voice as they sat together in the break room. I need your advice. Recently, I've felt like I'm being followed. There's this old blue car, it keeps showing up wherever I go. At the supermarket, on my way home, even here at the center. Marta frowned. An old blue car? Are you sure? It could just be a coincidence. Sophia shook her head firmly. No, Marta. It's appeared too many times to be random. And the man inside, his eyes make me feel uneasy. Marta nodded, her expression serious. Sophia, if you feel unsafe, the first thing you need to do is protect yourself. Have you tried taking a photo of the car's license plate? Laura told me to do that too, Sophia sighed. But I'm afraid if he notices, things might escalate. Marta placed a comforting hand on Sophia's shoulder, her eyes filled with understanding. Don't let fear hold you back. If you need, I can walk you to the parking lot today. We can try to find out more. Sophia smiled gratefully, though her heart was still heavy with worry. That evening, as Sophia drove home, she decided to take a different route. Instead of turning onto her usual path, she chose a longer detour, hoping to escape the unsettling feeling of being followed. At first, she breathed a sigh of relief. There was no blue car in her rearview mirror. But as she neared the turn into her neighborhood, she caught a glimpse of headlights in the distance. It can't be, she muttered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She sped up, trying to put some distance between them. But when she turned onto the road leading to her house, the old blue car appeared again, its headlights glaring into her rearview mirror, forcing her to squint. When she got home, Sophia quickly parked in the garage and shut the door. She ran upstairs and pulled the curtains aside to peek out the window. The old blue car had stopped a short distance from her house, its headlights still on. What does he want? Sophia whispered, fear creeping over her body. She grabbed her phone and called Laura. Laura, he followed me home again. Laura's voice was filled with concern. Sophia, this isn't a joke anymore. You have to do something immediately. Call the police. But what if the police don't find anything? I'll look like I'm being overly sensitive. Laura's tone turned firm. Listen to me, Sophia. If he really has bad intentions, doing nothing would be the worst mistake. Don't hesitate any longer. You need to act before this goes too far. Sophia sank onto a chair, burying her face in her hands. She didn't know what to do. The next morning, as she prepared to leave the house, Sophia hesitated at the door, glancing toward the driveway. There was no sign of the old blue car. But that didn't ease her worry. When she arrived at the center, Marta greeted her with a concerned expression. How was last night? Did you see that blue car again? Sophia nodded and recounted everything. I want to believe I'm imagining things, but this feels too real. Marta bit her lip, thinking for a moment before replying, here's an idea. If he shows up again, we'll confront him and ask what he wants. But only if I'm with you, so you're not alone. Sophia hesitated. Do you think that's a good idea? What if he's dangerous? Marta smiled reassuringly. We'll do it carefully. If needed, I'll call some colleagues to help. Marta's suggestion made Sophia feel a little better, but the thought of facing the man still filled her with dread. That day, when work ended, Sophia and Marta walked to the parking lot together. But this time, there was no blue car. See? Marta said with a light laugh. Maybe he was just passing by. Sophia nodded, but deep down, she wasn't convinced. On the way home, the quietness felt unusually unsettling. No blue car appeared, no headlights followed her. But it was the stillness that made her even more tense. When she got home, she turned off the engine and sat in the dark for a while. The unease made her reluctant to go inside. Then she decided to do what Marta and Laura had suggested. She took out her phone, opened a notes app, and began jotting down every detail about the old car, its color, license plate, and the driver. At least I'll have some information, she thought. But just as she was writing, headlights appeared outside her window. Sophia froze. The blue car was back, parked right in front of her house. This time, its headlights were off, but the shadow of the man inside was faintly visible through the windshield. She quickly locked all the doors and turned on every light in the house. The feeling of helplessness and fear made it hard for her to breathe. She texted Laura, "He's here again. What do I do now?" Laura replied immediately, "Call the police, Sophia. Don't wait." But Sophia couldn't move. Her hands trembled, and her phone almost slipped from her grasp. Outside the window, the shadow of the blue car remained still, a silent yet menacing presence. Sophia sat frozen on the sofa, her eyes fixed on the living room window. Outside, the blue car sat quietly under the dim streetlight. She didn't dare pull the curtains back to look more closely, fearing the man inside might notice. Her phone vibrated. It was Laura. "Sophia, have you called the police yet?" Sophia shook her head, whispering shakily, "I'm too scared. He's still there. If he sees the police arrive, he might do something." Laura shouted through the phone, "You can't just sit there and wait. Sophia, listen to me. Call the police immediately. If you don't, I will." Faced with her friend's insistence, Sophia reluctantly nodded, even though Laura couldn't see her. "Okay, I'll call." She hung up, opened her phone's dialer, and pressed the emergency number. 911, how can I assist you?" A woman's voice came through, calm yet firm. Sophia swallowed hard. I think I'm being followed. There's a blue car parked in front of my house. It's been showing up wherever I go for several days." The dispatcher asked for more details. "Has the person in the car done anything threatening?" Sophia shook her head. "No, but he keeps showing up, and I feel very unsafe. He's parked outside my house right now." "Understood. We'll send a patrol car to your location. Stay inside, lock all your doors, and do not go outside until the officers arrive." Sophia thanked the dispatcher and hung up. Her heart pounded as her eyes remained fixed on the shadow of the old blue car outside. About 15 minutes later, the sound of police sirens broke the stillness of the night. Sophia peeked through the curtains and saw a patrol car pull up next to the blue car. 2 officers, a man and a woman, stepped out. The man in the blue car opened his door and got out as well. Under the streetlight, Sophia could see him more clearly. He appeared to be in his 50s, wearing an old jacket and a faded baseball cap. The male officer, whose name tag read Javier, approached him and asked, "What are you doing here at this hour?" The man fidgeted, rubbing his hands together nervously. I'm just parked here to rest for a bit. I haven't done anything wrong." The female officer, Isabel, scrutinized him and asked, "Do you know anyone in this neighborhood? Why did you choose to park in front of a residence?" He shook his head, his voice lowering. No, I don't know anyone. But I don't have anywhere else to go. I live in this car. Hearing this, Sophia felt a mix of confusion and unease. He lives in his car. Then why was he following me? Javier jotted something down in his notebook and said, "We received a report that you've been showing up at multiple locations frequented by the resident of this house. Can you explain that?" The man bowed his head, silent for a few seconds before stammering, "I wasn't following anyone. I was just trying to return something she lost." Isabel raised an eyebrow. What did she lose? The man reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small leather wallet. Javier took it, opened it, and saw Sophia's ID inside. Javier looked at Isabel, then back at the man. "Why didn't you return it earlier?" The man sighed, his voice trembling. "I wanted to. But I didn't know how. I was afraid she'd think I had bad intentions if I approached her." Isabel's gaze hardened. "But you followed her for days. That doesn't make this situation any less concerning." The man lowered his head further, saying nothing. Inside her house, Sophia's heart raced. My wallet? She hadn't even realized she'd lost it. She decided to open the door and step outside. "Do you know this man?" Javier asked when he saw Sophia. Sophia shook her head. "No, I don't know him. But that is my wallet." Isabel handed her the wallet. "You should check to see if everything is still there." Sophia opened it and found all her documents and money intact. She looked at the man, her expression a mix of surprise and confusion. "Where did you find this?" The man scratched his head, speaking softly. "At the supermarket parking lot. I saw it fall when you left, but by the time I picked it up, you were already driving away." Javier interjected, "Then why didn't you go to the community center or the police to return it? Why follow her for days?" The man sighed heavily. "I don't have a good reason. I just thought I could return it directly. But I didn't know a better way." Sophia looked at the man standing before her. His worn-out clothes, tired demeanor, and apologetic eyes gradually replaced her fear with confusion. Javier turned to Sophia. "We can bring him to the station if you feel uncomfortable. However, at this point, there's no evidence that he had malicious intent." Sophia hesitated, thinking for a moment before shaking her head. "That won't be necessary. If he was just trying to return my wallet, I don't want to escalate this." Javier nodded and turned to the man. "It's best if you don't come back here. If we receive any more reports, things won't be as simple as they were tonight." The man bowed his head, thanking Sophia and the officers before walking back to his old blue car. When everything was over, Sophia returned to her house, but the feeling of relief was fleeting. She wasn't entirely sure she could trust the man's story. After that night, while the issue with the wallet alleviated some of her anxiety, Sophia couldn't shake her unease. The image of the man, his hesitant explanation, and his old blue car lingered in her mind whenever she was alone. The next morning at the community support center, Marta approached Sophia's desk with a steaming cup of coffee. "How did things go last night? What did the police say?" Marta asked, her face filled with concern. Sophia shook her head tiredly. "They checked everything, and the man said he was just trying to return my wallet. Everything in it was intact, but you know what? I still don't fully trust him. The way he followed me, it wasn't normal." Marta sat down next to Sophia, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're not wrong to feel that way. Maybe he really is just a desperate man, but your instincts are important. Don't ignore them. I still don't understand why he didn't return the wallet immediately or take it to the police. Instead, he followed me for a week." "Who does that?" Sophia said, her voice conflicted. "Maybe there's something he's not saying," Marta replied. "But be cautious. If he shows up again, you need to call the police right away. Sophia nodded, but the thoughts of the incident kept circling in her mind. That afternoon, after work, Sophia decided to test something. Instead of heading straight home, she drove through several different streets, taking complicated detours to see if anyone was following her. At first, everything seemed normal. No blue car appeared in her rearview mirror. But as she turned onto the street near her house, headlights suddenly flashed in the distance. Her heart sank. The blue car. Sophia sped up, her palms sweating. She tried to stay calm, but the unease surged through her again. She made a sharp turn into a narrow alley, turned off her engine, and sat silently in the darkness, watching. The old blue car drove past the alley, its headlights sweeping across the darkness ahead of her. Sophia held her breath, sitting motionless, afraid to make a sound. When the lights disappeared, she finally exhaled. But the fear still gripped her. He wasn't just coincidentally near her, he was deliberately following her. That night, Sophia called Laura. "Laura, he showed up again. He followed me all the way home." Laura shouted through the phone, "Sophia, this has gone way beyond safe limits. You have to report this to the police again tomorrow. He's not just returning your wallet." Sophia swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "I'm scared, Laura. What if he really has bad intentions? I don't know what to do anymore." Laura reassured her friend, "Listen, you're not alone. If you need, I'll come stay with you for a few days. We'll deal with this together." "No, I don't want to inconvenience you. But thank you, Laura. I just hope this ends soon." The next day, when Sophia arrived at the community center, she tried to hide her anxiety. However, Marta immediately noticed something was wrong. "Sophia, you're not okay," Marta said, pulling her aside into a corner of the room. "What happened?" Sophia recounted everything that had happened the night before. Marta frowned, her face full of concern. "We can't let this continue. I'll speak with a colleague at the police department to keep an eye on the area around your house." "Do you think that's necessary?" Sophia asked, feeling both worried and grateful. "You need to protect yourself, Sophia. This is no longer a small matter," Marta replied firmly. That afternoon, after work, Sophia sat in her car for a long time before starting it. She decided to stop at a cafe near her home, hoping to wait until later in the evening before returning. The cafe was small and cozy, with warm yellow lights. Sophia chose a seat near the window, ordered tea, and opened her laptop to check emails. She tried to focus on her work, but the persistent feeling of being watched wouldn't leave her. Suddenly, a familiar figure passed by the glass. Sophia froze. "It's him." The man entered the cafe, wearing the same baseball cap, his posture awkward as if he were looking for someone. Sophia lowered her head, pulling her jacket's hood over her face. The man glanced around for a while before heading to the counter to order a drink. Sophia kept an eye on him from the corner of her vision. He didn't seem to notice her, but his presence alone was enough to terrify her. Sophia quickly texted Laura, "He just walked into the cafe. I don't know what to do. If I leave now, he might follow me." Laura responded immediately, "Stay where you are. Call the police if he does anything suspicious. Don't confront him alone." Sophia tried to stay calm, but the man's presence unnerved her. He got his drink, sat at a corner table, and didn't do anything unusual. Yet, his mere presence made her feel suffocated. When the man finally left the cafe, Sophia exhaled in relief. But deep down, her unease grew stronger. This wasn't just a coincidence anymore, he was clearly following her. Sophia couldn't sleep that night. The image of the man in the baseball cap sitting in the cafe corner haunted her. Even though he hadn't directly done anything, his presence made her feel more threatened than ever. The next morning, at the community center, Marta was waiting by her desk. I spoke with a friend at the police department, Marta said. They're going to send patrols around your neighborhood for the next few days. If he shows up, the police will be there immediately. You really did that? Sophia asked, a mix of surprise and gratitude. Yes. This isn't the time to hesitate, Sophia. I also spoke with Laura. She's very worried about you, Marta replied, her gaze firm. Sophia sighed. I feel like I'm blowing this out of proportion. Maybe he's just harmless, but I can't shake this fear. Your instincts are right, Marta said firmly. You need to protect yourself before this escalates. That evening, Sophia left the community center later than usual, finishing some paperwork. As she walked into the parking lot, only a few cars remained under the dim lights. The quiet was so complete that she could hear the sound of her own footsteps on the pavement. She looked around, scanning for the blue car. There was nothing. Sophia felt a small sense of relief but didn't completely relax. She had just opened her car door when a strange noise came from behind her. Sophia spun around, her heart pounding. The man in the baseball cap emerged from the shadows, his eyes fixed on her. Hello, he said in a hoarse voice, trying to sound friendly but only making Sophia more frightened. Sophia stepped back, her voice trembling. What do you want? Why are you following me? The man raised his hands as if to calm her. I don't mean to scare you. I just want to talk. Talk. Sophia interrupted, her voice rising. You've been stalking me all week. Do you think I haven't noticed? The man lowered his head, looking embarrassed. I know it seems wrong, but I really don't mean any harm. I didn't know how to approach you. Sophia clutched her bag tightly, ready to run. Approach me? For what? He took a deep breath, guilt flashing in his eyes. I have something I need to explain. But not here. If you'd give me a chance. No. Sophia shouted. I don't want to hear anything from you. Leave me alone, or I'll call the police. The man stood still for a few seconds before slowly nodding. All right, I understand. I'll go. He turned and walked away, his figure disappearing into the shadows. But Sophia didn't feel any relief. The unease clung to her like a nightmare with no end. Sophia only told Laura about the confrontation that night. When Laura heard, she practically screamed over the phone. Why didn't you call the police right then and there? He approached you. This isn't just a misunderstanding anymore. I don't know, Laura, Sophia sighed. I just wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible. I was too scared to do anything else. You can't keep going like this, Laura said, her tone serious. We need to end this before it turns into a tragedy. 3 days passed, and there were no signs of the blue car or the man. Sophia began to convince herself that it might finally be over. But on a rainy night, just as Sophia closed the garage door after parking her car, she heard a faint knock on the living room window. Her heart stopped. Someone was outside, standing under the dim glow of the streetlight. She slowly walked to the window and carefully pulled the curtain aside. As she feared, the man was there again, wearing the familiar baseball cap. This time, he looked more distressed than threatening. Sophia decided she wouldn't back down. She locked all the doors, picked up her phone, and immediately called the police. 911, what is your emergency? The dispatcher's calm and steady voice came through. There is a man standing outside my house. He has been following me for days. I need help right now. Sophia said, her voice trembling but firm. We will send someone immediately. Stay inside, lock your doors, and do not go out. Sophia nodded, even though the dispatcher couldn't see her. She felt like she was holding her breath, every second stretching into what felt like an hour. Through the window, the man was still standing there, but this time, he wasn't staring at her house like before. Instead, he bowed his head, clutching something tightly against his chest. The police arrived within 10 minutes. They approached the man and instructed him to stay still. Peering through the crack in her door, Sophia saw that the man didn't resist, but he spoke urgently, his voice inaudible to her. After handling the situation, a police officer knocked on Sophia's door. A female officer, named Adriana, spoke gently. He had a box and insisted it was meant for you. Would you like to take a look? Sophia was confused. Did he say anything? He only said this is the last thing he needs to deliver to you, and after that, he will leave forever. Hesitant, Sophia decided to step outside. Adriana handed her the box. Sophia opened the lid, revealing a handwritten letter and several old photographs of herself as a baby. Alongside them were large amounts of cash and gold inside the box. The light from her home reflected on the faded photos, seemingly taken in a distant, unfamiliar place. Officer Adriana looked at Sophia, her expression questioning. Do you recognize any of this? Sophia shook her head, furrowing her brow as she stared at the letter. I'm not sure. May I read it? Adriana nodded. Of course. We'll be here if you need anything. Sophia carefully unfolded the letter, revealing shaky handwritten lines. My daughter, my beloved Sophia. If you are reading this, it means I've finally found the courage to face the truth after years of burying pain deep in my heart. My name is Vincent, and I am the man who has been watching you over the past few days. I do not expect you to forgive me for my strange and sudden appearance, but I hope you will understand why I did this. Do you know, Sophia, that I have always remembered you, even when you were just a tiny baby who couldn't yet speak? I remember every detail of your face, the soft sound of your cries in the long nights, and the times I held you in my arms, gently rocking you to sleep. But all those memories were abruptly cut short the day your mother decided to leave. I do not know what your mother endured to make that decision. I do not blame her. Perhaps I was too engrossed in my work, too consumed by the pressures of life, to notice that your mother needed more than empty promises. The day she left, carrying you in her arms, all I heard was the sound of the door closing, and my entire world collapsed. I tried to find you. I called everywhere, asked everyone I knew. I traveled to cities where your mother might have gone, but all I found was silence and an ever-growing emptiness. 1 year, 2 years, then 10 years passed. I eventually realized I had lost you forever. But, my daughter, I never stopped thinking about you. Every time I saw a little girl about your age, I would wonder, could this be my Sophia? I blamed myself 1,000 times for not holding our family together, for letting you grow up without a father by your side. A few weeks ago, when I saw your wallet fall in the parking lot, I couldn't believe my eyes. Your name, your picture, everything appeared like a miracle. I stood there for a long time, afraid to pick it up, fearing I was dreaming. But when I realized it was real, I had only one thought: I must see you again, even if only once. I was so unsure of what to do. I didn't know what to say or how to approach you without scaring you. I knew following you was wrong, but I couldn't think of a better way. I was terrified that if I showed up out of nowhere, you wouldn't believe me, or worse, you would hate me. And I couldn't bear that thought. Sophia, over these past few days, I've seen you, a strong, kind-hearted young woman who is always ready to help others. I am so proud of you, even though I have never had the chance to truly be your father. I've seen you smile, seen you care for others, and I realize your mother did an incredible job raising you to be such a wonderful person. But I know I can't quietly watch over you forever. I don't want to be a shadow in your life. That's why I've written this letter, along with including these old photographs of you that I've kept all these years. They are all I've had to hold on to remember you. I do not expect you to accept me right away. I only want you to know that I have never forgotten you, never stopped loving you, even though circumstances tore us apart. I don't ask for your love in return, because I understand that to you, I am just a stranger. In this box, I've left some money in gold, not to buy your forgiveness, but as everything I've saved throughout my life. I hope it can help you in some way. If you don't want to keep it, please use it to help others who need it more. Sophia, if you are willing, I hope we can have a conversation someday, where I can share stories I've never had the chance to tell you. But if you're not ready, I won't force you. Just knowing I've found you and seen you happy is the greatest comfort of my life. Take care of yourself, my daughter. I love you more than words can ever express. Vincent. Sophia folded the letter, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her hands trembled as she set it down on the table. A whirlwind of emotions overwhelmed her, shock, emotion, and confusion. Vincent was her biological father. The strange man who had been following her for days was truly her father. She looked at the box, the old photographs showing a baby unmistakably her. A sharp pain rose in her chest. In those pictures, Sophia noticed a young man, his eyes full of love as he held the child in his arms. That man was Vincent. Sophia didn't know how long she sat there, only that the letter and the photos had turned her thoughts upside down. Everything she had believed, or had never dared to think, about her biological father was now laid bare before her, undeniable. She decided to call Laura. Laura's voice was filled with concern as Sophia recounted the story. "What do you think, Sophia? What are you going to do?" Sophia wiped her tears, her voice choked. "I don't know, Laura. But maybe. I need to meet him." Sophia stared at the letter in her hand, thousands of thoughts racing through her mind. She couldn't believe that the man who had caused her so much worry over the past few days was her biological father, Vincent. Despite the letter being filled with love and regret, Sophia couldn't ignore the conflicting emotions stirring within her. She stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside. The street was quiet, but the image of Vincent standing in the rain the previous night lingered vividly in her mind. Laura called back, her voice urgent, "Sophia, have you decided yet? I can come over if you need me." Sophia sighed, her voice trembling slightly. "I'll meet him. I need to hear the truth directly from him." Laura hesitated. "Are you sure? He's still a stranger to you." "He's my father, Laura." "I can't just ignore this," Sophia interrupted. "But I want you to come with me. I'm not sure I can do this alone." "Okay, I'll be there soon," Laura replied firmly. That afternoon, Sophia arranged to meet Vincent at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. Her heart raced as she stepped into the cafe, each step weighted with anticipation and nerves. Vincent was seated in a quiet corner, looking worn, his faded cap resting on the table. When he saw Sophia, he stood, his eyes a mix of joy and anxiety. "Hello, Sophia," Vincent said in a raspy voice, his eyes brimming with tears. Sophia sat down, trying to maintain her composure. "I read your letter." Vincent nodded, his trembling hands clutching the edge of the table. "Thank you, for giving me this chance. I don't know where to begin." Sophia met his gaze, her voice steady but emotional. "Why are you only showing up now? Where have you been all these years?" Vincent lowered his head, his eyes filled with anguish. "I tried to find you, Sophia. But your mother, she left without a trace. I tried everything, but in the end, all I could do was hold on to the memories of you." Silence fell between them, broken only by the clinking of cups in the cafe. Sophia looked at Vincent, and the man before her no longer felt entirely like a stranger. Despite his weathered and tired appearance, she recognized features of herself in him, his eyes, his smile, and even the way he clasped his hands, just as she did when anxious. "You kept my photos," Sophia said softly, her voice gentler now. "What does that mean?" Vincent looked at her, his eyes full of love. "Those photos were all I had when your mother left. I kept them like treasures, as a way to remember that you were a part of my life, even though I couldn't be there for you." Sophia lowered her head, tears streaming down her face. I don't know what to do, Vincent. I don't know if I can call you my father. Vincent quickly interjected, you don't have to call me anything, Sophia. I only ask for a chance to hear about your life. That would be enough for me. His words tugged at Sophia's heart. She looked at the man in front of her, feeling the loneliness, regret, and unspoken love he carried. She couldn't refuse. Vincent extended his hand but stopped midway. May I hug you, just once? Sophia looked at him, her heart overwhelmed with emotion. She hesitated, then nodded. Vincent stepped forward and embraced her tightly, as if afraid to let go and lose her again. In that moment, Sophia felt a warmth she had never known before. Her tears fell, but this time, not solely out of sadness but because of a new feeling, reunion. Thank you, Sophia, Vincent whispered, his voice choked with emotion. Thank you for giving me a chance. Sophia said nothing, only nodding in his arms. In that moment, she knew things wouldn't be easy, but she was willing to start anew. A new journey for father and daughter, born from the tears of today. After the emotional meeting at the cafe, Sophia returned home, her mind heavy with thoughts. She couldn't stop thinking about Vincent and his words. Part of her still struggled to fully accept him as her father, but deep down, she knew his love was genuine. The next morning, as she was getting ready to leave the house, her phone suddenly rang. She picked it up quickly, and a serious but concerned voice came through the line. Miss Sophia, this is Officer Adriana. I have urgent news to share with you. Sophia's heart sank. What's wrong? Is it about someone I know? It's about Mr. Vincent, the man you met yesterday. He was just in a car accident not long ago. He's being taken to the city hospital right now. We thought you should know. Sophia froze in place. The phone nearly slipped from her hand. Which hospital? Is he badly hurt? Her voice trembled, nearly breaking. The city hospital, Adriana replied. I can't confirm his condition, but the doctor said he was unconscious when he arrived. Everything around Sophia seemed to blur. Without thinking further, she rushed out of the house, jumped into her car, and drove straight to the hospital. Her heart raced, each passing minute feeling like an eternity. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Vincent, the father she had only just found. Upon arriving at the hospital, she hurried to the front desk, almost shouting, Vincent. Patient Vincent, where is he? The nurse tried to calm her. Please relax. The patient has just been taken into the emergency room. The doctors are checking on him. Please wait outside for now. Sophia sat down on the cold bench, her heart burning with anxiety. She bowed her head, clutching her face in her hands, tears streaming down. Vincent's image filled her mind, the kind eyes, the raspy voice, the warm embrace from the day before. Please, let him be okay, she whispered, as if in prayer. About 30 minutes later, the emergency room doors opened. A doctor stepped out, looking tired but not overly grave. Are you a relative of Mr. Vincent? He asked. Sophia jumped to her feet, replying quickly, Yes, I'm his daughter. How is my father? The doctor smiled gently, reassuring her. He only has a minor leg injury and a few scratches. We've thoroughly checked, and there's nothing serious. But because of his age, we'll keep him overnight for observation. Sophia exhaled deeply, her legs almost giving way beneath her. Thank God, she said, tears still streaming down her face. The doctor placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. He's awake now. You can go see him if you'd like. Without hesitation, Sophia walked quickly into the hospital room. Vincent lay on the bed, his leg in a light cast, a small bandage on his forehead. When he saw Sophia, his eyes lit up, though he still looked weary. Sophia, Vincent called softly, his voice weak but filled with affection. Sophia rushed to his side, wrapping her arms around him as tears flowed freely. You scared me to death. I thought I'd lost you forever. Vincent gently patted her back, his voice hoarse. I'm sorry, Sophia. I didn't mean to worry you. I just wasn't careful on the road. Sophia lifted her head, looking directly into his eyes. Listen to me. I don't want to lose you again. I've already spent too much time without you in my life. I won't let it happen again. Vincent smiled, his eyes glistening with tears. Thank you, Sophia. Just being with you is more than I could ever hope for. They held each other tightly, as if trying to make up for all the lost years. In that moment, Sophia felt every barrier in her heart melt away. Vincent was no longer a stranger but her father, a man who loved her with all his heart. The following day, Vincent was discharged from the hospital. Sophia brought him home, determined to care for him and keep her promise to never let him feel alone again. The two spent countless hours talking, sharing stories from the past they had missed. Vincent told Sophia about his years searching for her, the memories he had with her mother, and his deepest regrets. In return, Sophia opened up about her life, the joys and sorrows she had never thought anyone would truly listen to. As time passed, their bond grew stronger. Sophia realized that while Vincent couldn't make up for the lost years, his love and sincerity were enough to start a new chapter in their lives. One sunny morning, Sophia brought Vincent to the community center where she worked. You said you wanted to know how I live. Today, I want you to see it, she said, a bright smile on her face. Vincent stepped into the center, feeling the warm and welcoming atmosphere. He watched Sophia with pride as she dedicated herself to helping others. My daughter is truly amazing, he said, his voice full of emotion. Sophia smiled, gently holding his hand. I just want to make you proud. Vincent squeezed her hand tightly, tears welling in his eyes. You've always been my greatest pride, Sophia. From that day forward, Sophia and Vincent were no longer strangers. Together, they built new memories filled with laughter and love. Vincent not only found his daughter but also a renewed purpose in life. And Sophia, after years of loneliness, finally found the family she had always longed for. She knew their journey wouldn't be easy, but with love and forgiveness, they could overcome anything. Happiness doesn't always come early, but when it does, it's worth every moment of waiting. The story of Sophia and Vincent teaches us that love and forgiveness have the power to heal even the deepest wounds. While lost time can never be regained, opening one's heart and facing the past can bring hope and happiness anew. Most importantly, it reminds us to cherish family, as love is the strongest foundation for overcoming life's challenges.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.